Awesome. Thank you everybody for joining us. This is an experiment. It's our first time on LinkedIn Live. I'm Zach Posner, co-founder and managing partner at the LegalTech Fund. We have tons of portfolio companies doing fascinating things, and thrilled to have Milan here, who is the co-founder and CEO of Oddr that is joining us. I guess before we jump in, because we get asked a lot about Oddr, and I think there's a lot of people excited to learn more about the stuff you're doing, but would love to learn a little bit more about you. And rather than the biographical information, maybe just give us one fun fact that people don't know about you.
Yeah. So first, thank you, Zach, and the LegalTech Fund team for having me. I'm really looking forward to having our conversation. Fun fact. I'll start by saying first, I'm an above knee amputee, and that's not a fun fact. The fun fact is I actually represented India in international sports for swimming and table tennis. Now, I know a lot of people looking away will say, no way looking at me, but it was 20 years and I would say about 40 pounds ago. So that's a fun fact.
Swimming and table tennis?
Yep. I represented India in international sports for physically challenged uh, back in, like I said, more than 20 years ago, and many pounds ago.
That is an important. These are important facts to know. Like this is how late night bets how I end up losing them. But now I'm aware, and my money's going on you for a couple of sports. If you're ignoring being a professional athlete, like one more for you, like what would you be doing right now if you weren't, serving the amazing community in legal tech?
Yeah, so I think it will be something related to teaching or education. You know, I've had profound impact of lots of amazing teachers and professors during my early days in my undergrad in India and a couple of masters here in US. Uh, I'm still in touch with a lot of different professors, and they have a very big impact on where I am today. So I think I would be somewhere in that realm, if that makes sense, Zach.
It does. When we think of early stage companies that we're looking at, something we always hone in on is engagement. And we look at engagement because, it usually means something's really important to somebody. The more that they use it, the more they use some sort of software or service, the more that, if it disappeared, they'd be kind of upset. What's one thing in your life that you cannot live without?
Well, the right answer, would be my wife and my kids.
No,
but
no,
but
sorry.
but of course, no, of course, I know. I'm just kidding here, Zach. But yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that I have been very diligently following for more than 25 years now is Formula One auto racing. So I've been a avid, Formula One fan back from Martin Senna and Schumacher days, all the way to the race we had last weekend. So I never miss a race, no matter where I am. I always watch them. Try to watch them live. Timing doesn't always work, but I'm an avid F1 consumer. What's happening in that, and I cannot imagine my weekends without Formula One and reading about them and talking about them.
We need to do these more often because I had no idea. And I live right outside of Miami. And I'm embarrassed to say I had extra tickets for the one in Miami. And I went.
Oh,
And I've got. So next year, let's just book this now. And, I've gone. I've gone all 3 years. It's been in Miami to different. To the. With different experiences around the track. I mean, first off, it's amazing what they do. Like, to me, I'm just blown away where it's a parking lot of a football stadium that turns into a city. But then B,
yep.
I felt like it was a horrible spectator sport because you're just zoomed. But it was but apparently we saw history in the
It's
making when the Red Bull guy didn't win. And anyway, all that shows my lack of
yeah.
knowledge of all of this
No,
stuff.
it's awesome. You're right. You don't get the full picture when you are there, but it's just the experience and the sound, and it's just amazing. So, but yeah, definitely next year I'll
All
ping
right.
you if you don't ping me.
Good. Well, I'm guessing this isn't why we're here today. So let's jump over. We have at the LegalTech Fund, we got a portfolio of 57 portfolio companies that are doing awesome work. And I want to say we are asked about you guys like in a disproportionate way. I mean, almost at least weekly, maybe if not more so often than that, when we're talking to law firm leadership, even the consulting firms in the space, even I don't know. Everybody seems a little fascinated by what you're doing. So maybe if you don't mind, give a little overview of what you're doing at Oddr, how it came to be. You and your team, you and your co-founders have like spectacular backgrounds that fit right into this. So maybe if you want to touch upon that for a second. But I think that
Yeah.
understanding what you guys are doing would be awesome.
Yeah, sure. So let me start. Me and my other two co-founders, Sumit and Saurabh. We three have been in legal tech for more than 50 years cumulatively, working in different companies like Elite, Thomson Reuters. It was then associated with TR, Intap, Wilson Allen, now Harbor. So we have had the pleasure of working with law firms for many, many years now. But when we took the leap of faith and decided to start something on our own, we took a lot of time early up front to go and talk to firms. So before we started anything, we took close to 6 months just talking to about 80 firms to try and understand this space, because we knew that this is a problem. There's a problem today, and typically law firms are just trying to resolve that by increasing the billing rates. There's a cap to that, with not being able to invoice and collect money. So we actually went and talked to the billers, the collectors, the managers, the director of finance, the CFOs, actual law firm clients. And we really wanted to make sure we understand what the problem is before we start solving it. And, into our 10th or 12th conversation, Zach, it was evident on what the challenges are. We started to see the same issues and challenges again. And we'll dive a little bit more into those. But, that kind of gave us the confidence and, the drive to say we can solve these problems. I mean, if you look at other verticals, Gartner has a magic quadrant for invoice to cash. And till 2 years ago, invoice to cash was not even a category that law firms budget and invest in. It's because it's, what it is perceived as is 3 to 5 different siloed, fragmented softwares. And rest of the world have the right tools to manage an invoice life cycle. And I think law firms need those tools. These are hardworking people who are trying to make difference, get their invoices out, get money into the law firm, but they don't have the right tools. And that was basically where we said we got to solve this problem.
Is there
The
is there structural reasons for that? Where in other, does this have to do with the e-billing systems and the fact that clients have or what are some, and you talked about some of those challenges. I'm curious, like what they are.
Yeah,
And sorry to
yeah. So
interrupt
I
you.
think it's
Keep going
fundamental.
though. I was just
No,
curious.
no, no. I think that's the idea of this chat.
Yeah.
I think the law firms function differently, right? It's a traditional difference between an organization and a partnership. Partnerships, lawyers are involved in every aspect. They want to have visibility of their invoices. And talking about the number one challenge that we heard, was visibility of invoices. What's happening with them? No matter if they're e-billed or send out as a PDF, or still snail mail, because some businesses require that. But the combination of this, and imagine this, a typical law firm sends anywhere from 5 to 8,000 invoices a month, and that's a lot of
Say,
volume to keep track of.
say that. Say that one more time.
Yeah, a typical law firm sends about 5,000 to 8,000 invoices out every month. And that's a big volume to manage, right? And hence the
Yeah.
question that comes about visibility, and not just visibility for one, but everyone, right? Billers want to know, hey, what's happening on the client side? Has the client received my invoice? Have they viewed it? The managers, like the billing and collection managers, they want to know what's happening on the client side. Are they going to pay? Are they behaving differently from their typical behavior historically they have done? Attorneys, and this is where some of the differences come into between a partnership and a typical business, is attorneys want to know what's happening with their invoices. Have they been sent out? There's an invoice reviewed by an attorney. Every invoice is reviewed by an attorney before it goes out. And that's the pre-billing phase, and sometimes after the invoice finalization too. And most softwares do not cater to this kind of workflow. So from the grounds up, we started to build this with these problems as the centerpiece of what we are building. How do we have a single glass pane view for law firms to know each and every invoice where it is in the system, right? And then you get to a lot of other stuff, which is like, how do we make it easy for your clients? I mean, I always say this to everyone in every firm I talk to, I changed my garage door 2 years ago, and that guy sent me an electronic invoice that I could pay, right? And imagine a law firm that sends these many invoices, but they don't have the tools to make that easy for their clients, right? How do you make it easy for them? How do you enable your clients to look at their historical invoices and statements and be able to click and pay or schedule payment, right? And I always say this, which is, if you want someone to pay you money, make it darn easy for them. If you make it complicated, they're gonna say, well, I'll get to it later. And then life happens. And despite best intentions, law firms wait months and months before they actually get paid. And this is one of the biggest challenge. Large outstanding invoice days, and the longer the invoice is outstanding, the higher chances of having a write-off on it, right? So these two are the key metrics.
And it seems like people end up ruining their Christmas holidays because they're trying to
Yeah,
get paid.
and
There's a frantic rush at the end of the year that seems like this is the only vertical where every member of the senior leadership, of these law firms are like all hands on, December 25th through December 31st.
Yep. And imagine this. I always say this for firms. Imagine you get to Q4 and which clients have not even looked at your invoice today. How valuable is that, right? Today they toss it over and it's a black box and you have no visibility, and then the collection starts to call and ask for payments. But having that information and one-click payment makes it so much easy. Yeah, go ahead.
So, by the way, at any time, feel free to flip questions back to me because I got a ton for you and I don't want to just fire away. But that being said, I'm going to keep going. Law firm A decides to work with Oddr. They kind of get you up and going next week. What's different in their world? Like, what are the types of things that are happening at this stage now because they were using you versus prior to they were not?
Yeah, so the first thing that our dashboard shows is exactly where invoices are. What invoices are still sitting with the firm, which are sent to the client but delivered but not viewed. What invoices have been viewed by the client, right? It starts with that. The other big thing is no one is manually sending any invoices. So again, go back to that number I mentioned about 5,000 invoices, and having someone manually type up emails and drag a PDF and send it out. It's not only time consuming, but also can be error prone. Hey, I send the wrong John Smith an invoice from a different client because I'm doing this 3,000 times or 5,000 times. It's bound to happen. All of that is eliminated. Invoices are finalized with one click. You send thousands of invoices from our platform. It brings a consistent look and feel for the law firm because now it's a template that they configure, and that's what every client gets. And there's lots of options for them to have their personal notes in there. But that starts by now having, if you get 5 days or 10 days invoices out faster, imagine this, just shortening your days by 10 days because you can get this automatically out quickly. With today's interest rate and millions of dollars that law firms have, that's just money that law firm gets paid faster. And that can be put to the growth of the firm faster.
If we play a game for a minute and you extrapolate that out directionally, about how many invoices go out on an annual basis, and what could the impact be, as the world shifts to Oddr over the next couple of years?
Yeah, I mean, so I always talk about, if you take, and this is obviously just based on rough approximation, but US firms today send about 120 million invoices out. And that's a big number, right? That's the number of invoices.
This is law firms, 120 million invoices.
Yep. Wow. Yep. Just in US. Yeah. And some of them have different type of automation. Some are doing manually. It's all over the place. But one thing is for sure that this today, the whole invoice life cycle is managed with 3 to 5 different softwares that are siloed. They don't talk to each other. There's no intelligence. And that's where, the firms don't have the right tools. So, for example, in our world, it's all an invoice life cycle from the time it's finalized to time it's paid and reconciled. So we have insights like, hey, this, when you send this invoice today, expect to get paid on June 27th, because that's the pattern. And if they don't pay it by then, rather than waiting for a 60-day outstanding report where they would have lost already 30 days, they can reach out proactively to the client. And now they have visibility on what's happening on the client side, which they didn't have before. So,
yeah, I can, you can only start to think about the analytical capabilities that you have as you start to collect the data set, but I can also see the first sliding your next deck. It should just say 120 million times $2 per. That's our, that's where we're going from a revenue perspective.
Yep. Well, maybe that's a question for you, Zach. So, obviously we have multiple law firms as an investor, people within law firms as investors, you as an investor. But what was the exciting thing from your perspective that, you wanted to invest with us? And we are obviously grateful and very happy to, be a part of your portfolio companies, but would love to hear a little bit more from your perspective.
Yeah. So I'll kind of give you I'll try to give you like a complete perspective approach. So we invest just the way we think about the world. We think of the world as software selling into law firms, into corporates, and into consumers and SMBs. And in law firms, we bifurcate the business of law and the practice of law as kind of two different areas.
Yeah.
And maybe this is even going higher. I mean, my partners had a philosophy for a long time that the closer you are to the payment, the easier that it is to get somebody to pay for your services. And I think that, there's a lot of software that focuses on the expense side of the P&L, how you save time, but like not a ton that focuses on like maximizing the revenue side. So I think at a high level, that was kind of the first construct. And we've actually we're working on a project right now that we hope to, publish to the world in the next couple of weeks, but we're tracking the entire process from rate setting to cash and like every step along the way, because we think that this like intersection of fintech and legal tech is just, these are the companies that we think could hit crazy trajectory in a very short amount of time. And I think that, you guys are certainly seeing some of that with all the interest out there. But so I think that's like overall product theme where you guys were sitting. And then when we look at team, we look a lot at this construct of, founder market fit, which is, it's like, are you guys like uniquely situated to run this company? That doesn't mean like, and there's like different iterations of that, where one could be like, hey, I'm a partner in a firm and I'm frustrated because my bills can't go out. But then there's also like, no, we've been in the nuances of the software that manages bills and acting as product managers. And that like product manager mentality, we think that if it enables, we have found entrepreneurs with that background, they can really create that experience that the customers are looking for out of the gate. And if you're attacking a big pain point and you got the right, product, usually the rest of it takes care of itself, I should say, if that makes sense. So those were the, those were the biggest things that kind of jumped out at me. Does that all make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Were we wrong on it? Were we wrong on anything? I mean, so far I think we're right, but it's early.
Yeah, no, you were absolutely right. Now, one of the things I always mention is, us founders and our core team. By the way, big shout out to our team. Where we are today is only because of them. So an amazing team that we were lucky to put together. But our core team, founders and architects and core product people, we have built and successfully launched many different products in legal tech. Although as a part of NTAP or other businesses, but we have done this, and that's to your point. We wanted to make sure what we are building is something that solves problem, not an afterthought, right?
Yeah.
Because invoice to cash, you will see, I totally expect more businesses to now jump on this space and talk about invoice to cash, and there's going to be that. But our commitment, our passion, our innovation is unmatched, and we continue to help firms and focus on their needs, what they really struggle with, right? And that's the centerpiece of the entire Oddr team.
And yeah, and you guys also, one more thing, just to answer your original question, you guys also had something that we call, like, I don't know a better word for it, but like, duh, like, why doesn't this exist? And like little things like that. I remember in our first meeting, you're like, we think it's a pretty good indicator that you're not going to get paid if your client has never opened your invoice.
Yep.
So I
Yeah.
think there were a lot of simple things that you guys were doing that just gets omitted. And then also, like, in fairness to some of the other folks, like, you guys got to come about when there was a new generation of technology that you get to take advantage of, that a lot of these legacy systems, it's very hard for them, and that's not unique to you. That's any early stage company. Where you gave us a quick overview of, kind of where you're at now and what the product, the types of things you're thinking about. Where does this, everything go, when everything goes your way in the next couple of years? Like, how does your product evolve? Like, where do you guys go?
Yeah, I think there's so many problems to solve in this, but today we are focused on the invoice to cash and every aspect of it. We want to keep adding more and more stuff in this, but then we look at other challenges within the same realm, right? Whether it is, as I always say, AI it's not a magic wand, right? Everyone uses AI as a magic wand, and we have it, and a lot of firms put a lot of effort into it. But what we do is we look at every aspect of this process and see where an AI or machine learning could really impact it, make it better. So we keep bringing more and more elements. But that's one thing that we're going to keep expanding as we go in there. But geographically also we are expanding. We just started our efforts and talking to firms in UK, Australia, and if you look at the global legal landscape, and it's about $1 trillion business, and most legal businesses get money only when they're invoiced. So that's the opportunity for us. So we want to grow, and there is so many different places, both geographically and product wise, that we're going to expand into to keep streamlining this. And end of the day, I would say that legal tech is a very exciting place because there's so much opportunity here, Zach. You look at other verticals, they are like, a little bit ahead, but here, there's so much opportunity. And, we at Oddr want to make a difference, bring these firms with exciting tools, and there is no end to the opportunities over here. So without divulging too much in there, but yeah.
I know you're talking to me right now, and I see the LegalTech Fund logo right above your head. But if you're talking to, if you sit down next to a random Series B investor, I'm actually curious about this. Do you identify as a legal tech company or as a fintech company?
I think it's definitely legal tech right now, right? It's
So you say
because
we're a legal
we
tech
know
company.
law firm.
Okay.
Right now, yes. But the growth in this problem. So when we did our discovery, we did talk to our adjacent, other professional services too. So if we had the opportunity to talk to a few accounting firms, a few financial services firms, and the problems are very similar there, right?
Yeah, no, I don't mean
Anywhere we
purely
are.
customer base. I mean more like the type of work that you do is very much fintech. Like every other company that does the
Oh
type of work you
yes.
do would probably go out and say they're a fintech company. And we're always curious about how companies, probably half of our companies would identify as something outside of legal tech, but obviously, your whole focus is on law firms and how you can. So that's how but I'm just curious
Yeah.
how
I
you think
mean.
about it. And let me,
Yeah.
you know, just wow, didn't even see the time. But if maybe a chance to give a shout out to somebody. I'm curious, is there some early angel investor? Is there one of your early customers where like when they decided to do business with you, you said, we got it. And for me as a former entrepreneur, there was always a couple of these like early customers. And when they believed in us, like it made us believe 10 times more in what we were doing. And I'm just curious if there's anybody that jumps to your mind that you want to give a quick shout out to.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'll mention two law firms, Warden Smith and Von Breesen, and both of them were on board. When we were just starting to build the software. So this is the discovery phase, and
Yeah.
part of the discovery was we then mocked up what we want to do, and we went back to the people we talked with and said, "Hey, when we build something like this, A, does it solve your problem, and B, does it, would you pay for a software like this?" And we got our early customers just based on that, without having written anything. And those two are the ones that I'll definitely give shout out. So Warden Smith and Von Breesen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that I wanted to give you that opportunity because I've always found that those people don't know how impactful they are to, you, your life, your company, the journey, what you're building. Um, now you probably thought I was setting you up to talk about us, but now I actually do want to selfishly end with a quick question. And you were at the summit last year. You were selected by a panel of judges to kind of present. Curious how that experience was, and if that was helpful for you and all that fun stuff.
Oh, awesome. Like I was not shy of mentioning this on my LinkedIn and other posts too, that, the LegalTech conference, the TLTF conference last year was one of the best conferences for us for the year. And I think, there were a couple of things that we were looking when when I went and got to that event. So one was, bringing a market awareness, both of the invoice to cash and Oddr as a young growing business. And I think we achieved big strides on that. Not only we had an opportunity to talk and present to a big audience, which was law firms and influential people in legal tech, and fellow entrepreneurs. So I think it was an amazing event for us. And then, the other thing from there was, just building relationships with a lot of key people who think, really strategically for legal tech, want to go somewhere within law firms, have that role to, help firms be more innovative, and kind of building those relationships, talking to them. It's so much learning just over there from people, the struggle and the challenges and the visions they have. It was an amazing event, and I think, we
Thank
we
you.
also built relationship with some investors also. And we had a few people who wanted to invest right after that event, and unfortunately we were done with the round we were. So I said, hey, let's stay in touch, and I'm in touch with those people. And as we get to the next round, we'll definitely do that. But no, honest to God, Zach, that was a magnificent event, and I'm looking forward to this year's
Thank you.
already.
So, well, thank you for the kind words. We are at the LegalTech Fund. We are like humbled to be able to work with you and the Oddr team and entrepreneurs just like you. And then, of course, thank you for taking a few minutes to do this. This was an experiment. From my end, it was awesome, but hopefully you enjoyed it. And thank you everybody for tuning in during for the last few minutes.
Thank you for the opportunity, Zach. We absolutely
Thanks, Mom.
enjoyed this. Thank you.
All
Bye bye.
right. Cheers.